Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. What a day it's been, and celebrating so many wonderful presentations on International Testers Day has just been an absolute joy. More joy to come. I have with me now Joel Oliveira from Portugal. Hi, Joel.
Hi, Debbie. Nice to be here.
Joel, I'm not going to take up too much time. I'm going to leave it for you to introduce yourself in a second. I just want to quickly, though, remark, if people have got questions, pop them into the comments box, please. Joel's going to answer those for you at the end of the presentation. Don't be shy. Please ask. I know that he's keen to hear from you all. And also just bear in mind that we're going to be voting for the presentation of the conference. So listen intently and hear what Joel's got to say, because I know it's going to be good. Joel, over to you.
Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you.
It's an honor to be here today, joining this amazing conference. I saw already some of the talks. It's already 7 p.m. So you guys give me some time. It's already late after a full day of work. Usually in the conference, I always like to bring a bottle of wine for the best question from the audience. Unfortunately, this is live, so we will not have a bottle of wine to offer. But anyway, as Debbie said, if you have any questions, just shoot them out. Okay, there are no such thing as wrong or stupid questions, just valid questions. So if you have any doubt, any question, don't be afraid and just say it. Okay, just type in the chat. About me, so Debbie asked me to do some quick introduction. Well, I don't really like to get into that. I will just say that I'm a tester. I love what I do. I'm quite lucky because someone paid me to do something that I love. Okay, so I hope that I will find also some testers that like what they are doing in the audience. But today it's our day, so happy Testers Day. And I would like to start with that. And when I was preparing these slides, I said, well, I need to have something to start the talk. And what better way to start than to have something about Testers Day? So it's about GenAI. It's about API testing. So I said, okay, let's ask GenAI some help, right? So if he can help me with API testing, he should also be able to help me with an image. I want to have some great image here. So I asked GenAI to give me an illustration that will help us to celebrate this day. Well, I don't know if it's the best option, but GenAI gave me this. It looks like a bunch of weird kids, some of them with beards like me. And they don't look, they are testing, they are just having fun with some drinks and some sweets. So at least the sweets part, this looks like me. So as you can see, lots of typos. I don't know what was the intention here. I don't know what I got wrong with my prompt, but this was not really what I was expecting. And it gave me other options. It gave this strange option where it looks like the different parts of the world. And these two guys, that they don't look like testers, they look more like hackers somewhere in the lab in Canada. I don't know why, don't ask, but it looks like they are trying to conquer the world from this lab. And I said, no, we are not hackers. We are just, testers with superpowers because we are trying to find all the defects that the developers spread into the code. So I tried again, okay? And as soon as I got into the superpowers, they said, okay, we know it. And they gave this image with a superhero. I think it's the tester and all the other ones, the developers. As you can see, the beard is still there and glass. So it looks like every single tester needs to have beard. I have already, and glass, and it needs to be, like to have this body like a body lifter. Well, I don't need GenAI to tell me that. My wife already told me that I need glass and I need to go to the gym. But it will be hard to be like this. I only have the bird for now. So I say, well, instead of the S, can we have a T? From testers, like super testers. And I said, yeah, for sure. AI is always quite polite and say, yeah, I will try again. And well, the S is still there. And now we have some tattoos, the glasses, the beard, all there, the mighty body. And again, also the typos. So I don't know what AI was, or GenAI was trying to do here. I didn't give up. I said, well, another try with the same, and it removed the S from the logo, that's for sure. But not really a T. You had something there. Now we have also some women from the women in testing. Again, all the guys with beards and glasses. So it looks like this what Gen AI thinks about testers. We all look more or less the same, and some bats in the background. Don't know why. And again, lots and lots of typos. I don't know what was happening with GenAI, but it was really hard to get an image without any typos. I don't know if he was just making fun of the testers having all these typos, but all these images were really, really weird. As I said, I'm stubborn, I'm a tester, so I said, well, I will not give up. So let's try again. And again, I almost got it. The same characteristics. It looks like all the testers look the same. Instead of the S from the super, we finally got a T, a super tester, and we almost got A4Q in the background. And again, some gibberish, TP tests, automat talk, something. So it looks like he grabbed some of the words that I typed in the prompt, and it just tried to put all the text in the image. So to be honest, at this moment, I was a little bit frustrated, trying to interact with this GenAI, and they are always, all these bots, they are always quite nice, quite polite. They always say, yes, let's do it, let's try again. But I was getting a little bit frustrated, and this is what you will get from lots of different people that is interacting with GenAI. You even heard that today from some of our speakers, that this can be the first reaction when you try to interact with GenAI. In the beginning, it's amazing. It looks like it will save the day, and then iteration after iteration, it does not work as you expect. And again, it does not mean that it's on the GenAI side. It could be on our side. It could be, in this case, in the prompt. And say, okay, if my prompt is not good enough, just give me what will be the best prompt. So, and he did. He gave me this big prompt, basically merging everything that I said before. And you can still see some super guys there. And for sure, instead of the S, just give me this double T that looks like an alien in the main place. So not really what I was expecting, again, to celebrate the Testers Day. So as I said before, I didn't give up, so I was still not happy, especially because these guys, they were in the middle of the road, so not the best place. This really looks like a aliens movie. So I asked for something else. And I got this one. Again, it looks like they are all ready to go or to come from the team. And the T was there, great glasses also, this futuristic glass. I don't know why we need as a testers to use all these glasses. And also, again, the bird, okay, beard, you need to have it. And women in testing is also represented, okay, not bad. But to be honest, this was my favorite of all. Looks like an office type of guys, again, glasses, beard. And don't ask me who is that weird blue guy in the background with the mask. I don't know, but it's GenAI. But at least you got it right. It's the testers. Okay. So happy Testers Day to all of you. And let's now move into the APIs. Okay. So APIs are nothing new. Okay. So everyone knows about APIs. They are here for some time now. So in the 60s, we start to hear about APIs. In the beginning, they were like this application programming interface for the internal interface. So they were basically to interact with the operating system. So you had these libraries to interact with the operating system and also with the hardware. So these were the type of APIs that we are talking about in between 60s and 80s. Later on in the 90s, with the rise of the internet, we start to hear about something else, the service-oriented architecture, SOA, and also SOAP, from the Simple Object Access Protocol. This was the first time that we start to talk about remote APIs. So SOAP was, quite nice invention at that time, because it will allow us to call remote interface. And it was not dependent on the protocol, so you could even send an email, and that will start a call to an interface in the remote system. So that was quite amazing in the 90s. But SOAP was really heavy. It was XML based, not easy to deal with. So you can still find it today, but it was not really a great success because of all the challenge dealing with the SOAP. And then in the beginning, in 2000s, we start to talk about RESTful APIs, or the REST APIs, and these came also with some major platforms like Salesforce or AWS that started to make their APIs also public, using this REST. So this was, I will say, a new era for the APIs, because these start to change the world of the APIs, and therefore API testing. In the 2010, we start to hear about the cloud service, the mobile apps, and microservice, and this was the boom. So with all of these, the number of APIs just exploded. Okay, together with IoT, all these devices, they are providing REST APIs. REST, it's quite easy to deal with. It's very simple, very light, JavaScript based, text based. So it's really, really light, and you can find tools to work with REST and JSON almost in every single language, every single platform. So this was really the boom. And then it comes today, right? The 20s. So today, APIs are everywhere. It's impossible to work in a solution, to test a solution that does not provide one API. And one API is the minimum, because you can have thousands of APIs available that you need to integrate. Okay, so all of these endpoints, all of these APIs are available, and you need to test them, and they will work together to provide the solution. All these microservices, they provide all these different solutions. Instead of having a big monolithic system, we now have all these small parts, looks like a crazy Lego. All of them providing and consuming different APIs from the different service. Good and bad, right? The bad, it's the complexity. It's the breaking points. So you have more points that can break, and it's things that were really easy in the past, like deploying a new version. Today, it's really complex. You need to make sure that you are deploying all the dependencies, all the different microservices. So it's not really simple anymore. It's actually quite complex. Well, the good thing is that, well, it's more work for us. So we will not run out of work. Don't worry, guys. The future is smiling to us. So let's talk about the traditional API testing. So it was a test approach where we submit requests to a test object, an API, using this specific interface. Okay, and of course we validated the output, the expected output, and this was performed manually or with test automation tools. I will make here as a parent, please use test automation to test APIs. Don't do it manually. I know that lots of you are still doing it manually, but please don't do it. I will explain a little bit later why. But the goals with API testing was to test functionality, to make sure that the API was responding correctly every single time, that it was also working with different load conditions from the performance, security, quite important, but not so I will say it's like a second citizen. I see lots of all the APIs will have tests for functionality. Some of them will have tests for performance. Security, usually it's only when you have a security problem, right? Only after that, only when some hackers start to play with your APIs, then security comes and plays a major role. And then availability. Well, if security and performance are not so common, availability is even less. But now it's moving more from software testing to the DevOps, to the observability and monitoring. Okay, but this still the main 4 topics that we should be concerned when testing APIs. So let's talk now about AI and GenAI, and I will not get into the details. Lots of speakers already talked today about these two, what are similar, what are the differences. I will just go quickly through the main points. So AI, a system that tries to performs tasks that are typically requiring human intelligence. And we are talking about solutions that try to resolve problems, take decisions, like what you can see, for example, in self-driving cars or in your smart virtual assistants that you have on your mobile phone or in your home appliance. They are trying to take some decisions and help to resolve problems. And they look to the data and they make decisions based on that data. Well, GenAI, it's a different kind of AI. So it's a subset and it's focused on content generation. So it's creating new content, and it can be text, image, like the ones that you saw, good or not, that was output of GenAI, music, videos, code, or what is relevant for us, even tests, because that's just text, okay? And it uses a model, that learns from the patterns of the existing data. So we provide the model with testing, training data. The model will learn with the patterns on that data, and then we'll use what they learned to create new content, new data, okay, based on what was learned. So GenAI in API testing. So again, this was already a very discussed topic today, but I will explain some of the advantages or how we can use GenAI specifically for API testing. Okay, not in the testing in general, you have some overlap, but in this case, I'm just focused on API testing. So we can use, of course, to accelerate the test case design. This, I will say, it's the most common one, where you provide the schema, you have the definition of the API, a JSON file, a Swagger file, and ChatGPT or any other GenAI, Copilot, Gemini, they will be able to understand that schema and help you with the test case design with some ideas and help you to think in different test cases that probably you are not thinking without this help. The other option, for example, is to look also to the logs. Okay, so for example, if you have already an API in production and if you provide the logs of the API, you already have tools that use GenAI to analyze the logs and to generate also test case based on the user interaction on those logs. As soon as you have the test case design, they can also help you to write the test scripts, not just to write, but also to maintain them, okay? For example, if you have changes in the APIs, or if you are doing some API testing using the Robo framework, one of my favorite frameworks, and if you decide to change the library, it's not just a simple search and replace, because it's a keyword-based framework and the keywords between different libraries may be different, but you can just ask GenAI saying, okay, instead of this library, use a different one, and GenAI will update the script. It will provide you a new script with the new library. For example, if that old one is deprecated, or if you want to change to a different one. So quite interesting. You have this assistant, you have the refactoring, and you can also have self-healing. this is mostly known for web, but it can also be used for API testing. And it can improve also the test coverage, thinking on those edge cases that you could miss when you are looking from a manual point of view. And also from the test data management. And it looks quite simple when we are talking about test data management. And it is simple if the data is simple. So if you're just looking for username and passwords or birthday or an address or a country, yes, but AI, and in this case, GenAI can do much more. Okay, so it can create synthetic data based on, for example, on production data that is a valid sample. So it's from the statistic point of view, it's relevant. It's representative of the data that you have in production. So we are talking about really complex scenarios where GenAI can also help getting these test data generated. And well, one that I think it's quite important is the test reporting. So when you look to the results of the tests, to be able to get some insights, to do some analysis, GenAI can also provide a way to summarize all these outputs and give you a nice report, also with some ideas for predictive maintenance. Last but not least, and in my opinion, the most important contribution from GenAI in API testing, it's actually the resource optimization. It's actually to release your effort, the effort from the QA engineer to focus on more complex tasks, on more creative aspects of testing, instead of just doing API testing, repeating the same thing over and over again. If it can be automated by a tool that is GenAI or GenAI based, why not? Okay, it's not just because it can be automated that you will be automating. Don't get into that mistake, but look to the added value of having GenAI working with you, and think if there is something that GenAI can do for you, and then you will have some more free time to do other type of tasks. But of course, nothing is perfect. GenAI is also not perfect, even if it looks. When you look for the PowerPoints from lots of these sales speech that are trying to sell GenAI, but it's not perfect. It's, I will say, still far away from being perfect. And well, some of the limitations, some of the problems. So GenAI will not have or may have a limited understanding of the business rules and some of the edge cases. It's quite important when you are a tester to know the context, right? To be able to test the fit for purpose, to be able to use the shoes of your customer. In this case, for the APIs, it's exactly the same. To understand what will be the flow, how the API will be used. And that's usually not on the API definition. So, and that's what you provide to GenAI. So all this business knowledge sometimes, or most of the times, is not available to the GenAI. The other one is to over rely on the data that was used to train GenAI. So we do some simple tests, it looks like it's working, and then we realize that, yeah, this GenAI was really well trained, we can rely on it, okay? And it's not the case, as you will see. So the data, you never know what was the data used, and it can be that the data itself will introduce some other problems. And when those problems come, it's really not so easy and actually quite difficult to do debugging, to understand the code. So we need to understand that nothing comes easy. And of course, the big one is about data privacy. That is concerning everyone, especially when you are using tools like ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will use your data to learn. Of course, if you're using ChatGPT within a company or enterprise, you will have these type of concerns, especially if you're talking about production data. But the main challenge, the main limitation is actually the unpredictability, this big word. And it comes with two flavors, hallucination and non-deterministic. Okay, so let's jump into the first one, hallucinations. So hallucination is when AI starts to generate incorrect, misleading, or fabricated information, fabricated output that is not supported by the data that was used to train the model. Okay, so it's really having hallucination is really creating content that it should not, wrong content. And it can range from small inaccuracies or something completely wrong. And of course, depending on the test case, depending on the scenario, it can have a big real impact. Okay. And some other limitations from, in this case, specific for API testing. For example, generating test cases that are not aligned with the API's definition or with the API's behavior. Generating correct code for test automations and things that you try to import into the tools and it will not work. Or a quite common one from my experience is when you ask, for example, to generate a test case that you can import as a collection to Postman. Yes, it generates the calls, but usually they go with 0 tests. So it's not really test automation. You can call it automation, but if you are not validating anything, if you don't have any assertion, you cannot really call it a test. So in most of the case, that's what happened. It can also be that he misunderstands the API documentation. So if you are misleading the API documentation or specs, of course, that will create also wrong outputs. Some examples of the donations or how you can also improve them. But before, let's try to understand why. So why do they have these hallucinations? So data gaps. Okay, so there were gaps in the data provided for the training, or over-generalization of patterns. Remember that GenAI will look to the data that is provided for training and it will try to understand patterns. It could be that this over-generalization is also creating then these hallucinations, or it's an offline model, so it lacks real-time or up-to-date data, or it could be also your fault or my fault, ambiguity in the prompt. So how can we prevent, or how can we try to minimize these hallucinations? Well, the first one is to understand that GenAI has these limitations, that you can start to hallucinate. So don't trust everything blindly, okay? Always double check, but you need to be aware that it could be the case that GenAI is just hallucinating. Choose the right model. Okay, if you go with a generic purpose model, you will not get the best results. But if you look for a specific model that was trained for software testing, or even better, for API software testing, or to a specific tool, you already have several versions of the ChatGPT that are built with that purpose. The answers that you are getting will be much better because the context is already limited to what you are looking for. Okay. The third one is to provide a clear or accurate input, and I will show you a very good example on this. And as I said before, cross-check the outputs. Always double-check what you are getting if it is correct, and limit the AI usage as an assistant. Okay, so it's not to replace the tester; it's just to assist you on that role, and always keep humans involved in the loop. That's not an option. It's mandatory. You always need to have some humans to validate what is being provided. Let me give you an example of hallucination. So I just asked what are the top 3 concerns in API testing, and I didn't want any details. So I asked that, and he just gave me security, performance, and functionality. It was not really accurate, so I asked, no, order it by priority, just to make sure. I can see 1, 2, 3, but I was not sure if it was ordered by priority or not. So I asked to order by priority, security, functionality, and performance. As you can see, it changed the order. And I said, well, I want to change the priority for testing, just to make it clear and accurate. and then it changed again, functionality, security, and then performance. Okay, not really agreeing with these. In my opinion, it's functionality, performance, and then security. But well, none of these is reflected on the three answers that I got. Okay, so let's move to the next one, non-deterministic, and I will talk about large language models here. Why? Because these more apply to GenAI that is outputting text, okay, or creating output of the text type, like ChatGPT, for example. So they do not work on logic. They try to predict, with the probabilities, what will be the next word. So it's not deterministic. If you want 100% accuracy, 100% repeatability, that's not what you are looking for. Okay, that's not what GenAI will give you. You need to look for a different type of software, and this can be, as every tester understands, a nightmare, right? Because you never know what you will get. So, and that's the basic when you are testing something. You have some actions, you have an expected output, and then you validate against that expected output. Here, it can change. So it's really, for some testers, it can be a chaotic environment to work with these kind of solutions. And that means that asking the same question twice, you will return different answers. You can tell me, well, this is like almost like humans, right? When you ask a guy in the team something and you ask again, in most of the case, you will get a different answer. So that's also what I tried with ChatGPT. So I asked, what are the top main concerns in API testing again, and I asked it again, 1 second after the other, and I got completely different answers. Functionality and correctness, security and vulnerabilities, performance and scalability. And then on the second time, I got different sets, security and vulnerabilities, these match, performance and scalability, these also match. And then the third one, data integrity and validation. And I believe you agree with me that functionality should be also there, but it's not, in this second case, it's not identified as a concern. And you can even ask a different GenAI solution. And in this case, I got a different answer, in my opinion, more aligned with what I would expect, functionality, performance, and then security. Okay, but as you can see, the same question asked to the same GenAI that was trained with the same data, you will get different answers. And if you use a different model, for sure, you will get a different answer. Okay. We are moving almost, let me just check the time. Okay, we are almost in the limit. Let me explain different integrations that you can have when integrating GenAI with API testing tools. I identified 3 different types of integrations. The first one, the basic one, it's when you go to these GenAI tools like ChatGPT, you type in some prompts, you get test data, you get test case, and then you are able to import them into the tools. In some cases, depending on the tool, it could be that you are just getting instructions on how to implement these test scripts then in the tool. Second one is what I call enhanced integration. For example, you have Postman, where you already have Postbot within the tool that will use GenAI to help you. The results are much better because you already have the context that is provided with this plugin or enhanced functionality that is calling GenAI from the tool. So you don't need to provide the context. Usually these kind of integrations already provide the context. And the last one, it's the native integration. So we are talking about GenAI first tools that started from the beginning with the GenAI approach to test APIs, and these are already available in the market. So looking a little bit to the future, I believe that GenAI will be further augmented, will further improve for the API testing, basically to answer 3 different needs. Okay, the first one is the need for speed. So we are in a world where everything needs to happen quite fast. API testing is not different. So GenAI will come into our rescue to provide this need for speed. It will also come to help us with capacity. We are short on resource, on good testers. So this can also help, especially on the technical knowledge, to help us with the capacity. And the third one, need for efficiency when we are talking about reducing the costs. So trying to do more coverage, more tests with less resource, less time, less money spent. Okay. But will all the challenge be resolved in the future, in the near future? Well, I probably not. Okay, it's mostly unlikely. I We will still or we can still expect hallucinations, bias, ethical concerns that will be there in the near future at least. Um, and keep in mind that even if we are looking for efficiency from the tester's point of view, keeping, implementing, and maintaining AI systems is actually quite expensive. Okay? You just search for the amount of money that big companies are investing, are spending on the solutions, and you will understand that we are not talking about any small numbers at all. Um, the last one is that human experts will still be required, okay, to interpret, to validate, and to oversee AI. So all of these, it's still valid for the future. To finish, some key takeaways. Okay. The first one is that prompt engineering matters. Okay, even if this is more an art that you need to learn more than engineering. I know some guys that will not even agree on calling prompt engineering. They don't agree with this name. Um, for me, it's like talking with the rest of the team members. Everyone has this team member, developer or not, that is really hard to talk with. That's GenAI. Okay, you just need to understand how to talk with GenAI. Nothing new here. Okay, just a different team member that you need to deal with. So especially if you are doing these manual integrations, if you are using a tool, this prompt will be done behind the scenes. But if you are interacting with the GenAI solutions directly, then of course you need to understand how to talk with them. GenAI can enhance API testing. Okay, no, it's not perfect, but it can help. Okay, just a warning: don't use it as a new hammer. Okay, and if you don't know what I call a hammer, just send me a message. But it's this quick and dirty solution that will solve all your problems. Okay. So don't use GenAI as a new hammer that will resolve all your problems for API testing. It will not. Okay, it can create bigger problems because it's a bigger hammer. So be careful with that. Don't get into the temptation to use AI for everything that you see. Okay, and last but not least, don't test APIs manually. Okay, please don't do that. APIs were designed to have machine-to-machine iteration, system-to-system iteration. So don't pretend to be a system, pretend to be a user and just let the automation do the rest for you. Well, if you insist on testing APIs manually, as I see lots of testers, then I believe that you cannot complain if you lose your job to be replaced by an AI bot. Okay. So that was all. Thank you. Obrigado. And I think we still have some minutes if you have any questions.
Obrigado, Joel. That was wonderful. And thank you so much for that perfect presentation on International Testers Day. Absolutely wonderful. I thought I'd stay in the spirit of things to start off the Q&A. And I asked GenAI to give me a question to ask you.
Okay, great.
So I'll look at what the audience is saying in a moment. But the first question you've actually, I think, covered really well. It says, how do you ensure the reliability and accuracy of AI-generated test scripts and AI automation? And what role does human oversight play in maintaining quality?
Okay.
Covered most of that.
Yeah, I think so. So you cannot trust AI. That's basically, and to be honest, it can be quite frustrating. If you end up spending lots of time just trying to get something that works. Okay, and it's frustrating because if you have a team member that is not behaving well, you can always have a talk with it. If you talk with GenAI, it will always be polite and say, yeah, I will do it. And even when you point a mistake, like, oh, the tests don't have any validation, say, oh, you are right. Let me try again. And it tries again and gives you the same result without any validation. So it can be quite frustrating, and that's why human validation it's so important. It's overseeing, it's really important, and more than important, it's mandatory. You cannot just trust AI at this moment. I don't know if you will be able to trust in the future, but for now, you cannot.
The other question that it gave me, and then I will go on to the other ones. It says, this is wonderful. In the world of API testing, how has GenAI been your unexpected hero, and what was its superpower?
Unexpected hero. Okay, superpowers. Well, the superhero it's to actually be able to speed up the things, to be able to provide these scripts quite fast. If I need to do it myself, even with very good tools that we have available in the market, you can be quite efficient, but not as efficient as getting already everything done for you, and you just import and work if you are lucky. Okay, if you are not lucky, then your superhero it's more like a villain, that is spending some time from you, some very critical time. So the superpowers, of course, it's the ability to look into large volume of data. For example, if you look to application logs from production, and if you try to understand what is the behavior of those APIs and try to build test case or to identify patterns on that data, we are not really good on that. Okay, so GenAI, let's say it's this way, GenAI, it's much better than us identifying patterns. So these are the superpowers that GenAI can bring. Okay.
Super. What other questions have we got here? Let's have a little look. Will GenAI take my job as an API tester?
Well, this is the elephant in the room, right? Everyone is afraid of losing the job. And I already heard it today in the talk from Rick saying, that if you are not good on AI will not take your job, but if you are not good on using AI, then probably you may lose your job. Well, I will say more. If you are doing manual testing on APIs, for your own good, it's better to lose your job for GenAI. Okay, you don't want to stay doing that forever, trying to replicate the system behavior, doing it manually. Okay, it's really exhaustive, can create some brain damage, so don't do it. Okay, use tools, use test automation, and get better on what you're doing as an API tester. Get a professional tester. So if you are a professional tester, if you are a good tester, and if you use and you know how to use all the tools that you have available for you, automation, GenAI, all these techniques, of course, you will not lose your job. As I explained, GenAI will always need these humans to do the overseeing and to fix what GenAI does wrong. Okay.
Thank you. Another question, hopefully. With GenAI, can I test APIs without needing technical knowledge?
Yeah, this is a quite good one, but tricky. Okay, technical knowledge. And I know lots of testers that are afraid of doing API testing because it's a more kind of technical test, and they are not technical. So can I do it with GenAI without having this need for the technical knowledge? And the easy answer will say, yes, of course, GenAI will do everything for you. I know that it's a different scenario. It's not GenAI, it's AI. But what do you feel about getting into a Uber driver with a smart self-driving car where the driver does not have the technical knowledge how to drive a car? So AI will take care of it. Will you feel safe? So this is what we are talking about. You don't have any technical knowledge. You have a tool, but you don't know anything on how to use the tool and the techniques behind that. So just relying on GenAI, it's a very good recipe to have a large damage, a huge waste of time, money, effort. So technical knowledge for technical tests, even if you have a peer like GenAI helping you, they are required. Okay, it's impossible to do something if you don't know how to do it. Okay?
Joel, we have absolutely hit the 45 minutes, and I'm going to be told to stop now. We've been here for hours, I'm absolutely sure. That is absolutely fantastic, and
Have fun.
a lovely way to go into the last couple of sessions of this really special summit. Thank you, Joel, so very much. And everyone, please, I hope you stay tuned, or if you're watching this recording, I hope you go and look at other sessions, because we've had some absolutely fantastic content. Joel, absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much.
Happy Texas Day. See
Happy
you.
Texas Day. Bye. Bye-bye.